Here's what I've come to realize in my many years on this earth is that most of us are actually not working in a way that leverages our strengths. In fact, most of us don't even know what our strengths are, our style of work or thinking, what that is. So instead, we just kind of go with the flow. We're like a feather in the wind. And so we don't understand ourselves. And when we don't understand ourselves and how we think best and how we work best, we're actually working against us. We are conforming to the outside elements for how we on the inside should work at our best. Or maybe it's just, you mimic someone, you saw somebody else who you thought, oh my gosh, that person's an incredible, like everything they do is gold. So I'm going to work and be like them. But usually that falls short because we're not them and it doesn't work. Hey everybody, Tamara here. Welcome to another episode of With Tamara Gondor, me. So hey, listen, I wanted to address something really quickly. If some of you are thinking, wait, I thought I subscribed to a podcast called Inside Launch Street. What happened? Same podcast. Here's the thing. We kept getting these emails and these direct messages in social media saying, hey, I was looking for your podcast. I typed in your name and I couldn't find it. I cannot tell you the number of messages we got like that. Well, we love to listen to our customers. We don't want to cause any of you frustration or sticky points or friction. So we changed the name. Turns out everybody's looking for Tamara Gondor and not for Inside Launch Street. So why make it complicated? The good news is it's still all the great, amazing, innovation, optimal performance content that you got before, just a little bit of a name change. That's it. So this is still the place to be an everyday innovator, to ignite innovation, influence others, and make an impact. Before we dig into today's conversation, which is all about how bringing your best self is about understanding how you work and think, I want to share with you one of my favorite resources. Now I'm going to show it to you if you're watching this on YouTube. There it is right here. Do you see this beautiful, very large water bottle called Hydromate? This is one of my favorite water bottles in the world. So I have to drink because of a fitness program I'm doing, a gallon of water a day, which sounds like it's not a big deal, but whew, I was not drinking that before. My Hydromate is half a gallon. So basically all I got to get through is 2 a day. I love this bottle because it carries so much water. And here's my favorite part. On the side, it has these things that say ready, set, go. And then the next line says, you've got it. The next one is keep drinking. The next one is halfway there, and so on and so on. So it's got this funny little motivational element to it. It's the best water bottle. I love it. And it's got the kind of straw style top so you can drink easily. You can see all my lip marks on it. I love my Hydromate. If you don't have one, go get it. We've got to stay energized and hydrated to get our work done, to be the best that we want to be. And Hydromate does that for me, and I bet it can do it for you. Go get it. All right, today's podcast is all about the key to your best self, to your best work is buried in your everyday innovator style. And we are going to unbury it. Here's what I've come to realize in my many years on this earth is that most of us are actually not working in a way that leverages our strengths. In fact, most of us don't even know what our strengths are, our style of work or thinking, what that is. So instead, we just kind of go with the flow. We're like a feather in the wind. And so we don't understand ourselves. And when we don't understand ourselves and how we think best and how we work best, we're actually working against us. It's a little bit like, I don't know if you've ever read that book, Born to Run, and it talks about this incredible tribe in Mexico that just runs for days on ends, like no effort, they just start running and they go. And one of the things that the author talks about is how they run on the pads, the balls of their feet, while the most of us are running on our heels. Now go with me for a second, because this relates to how we innovate and what I'm talking about. When we run on our heels, it's like we're stopping every time we touch the ground. So every time our foot hits the ground, we're stopping and then having to start again, stopping and having to start again. That heel strike is a stop method, and we're using it while we run. And the same applies for how we work and approach our day. We are working against ourselves. We are stopping ourselves out of the gate. And every time we got to put more effort into starting back up again and starting back up again. Just like the heel strike, to heel to pad. When we run without our heels like that, we actually keep the momentum going because we're running in our best way. When we understand how we think and operate, we are working in our best way, and we're not stopping ourselves or sabotaging ourselves out of the gate. And what I find for most of us is what we do is we conform. We conform to other approaches or other styles of thinking and working because that's what we're taught, even though it may not work for us. So maybe we conform to how a teacher told us to or how school tells us to think. There's definitely one structure in most schools, right? And we're all supposed to act or be and think like that. Or maybe it was a boss that you had and kind of how they approach things, how they expected their team to behave and to think and act. Or maybe it's the environment that you're in. It could be your family, your community, the structure of your company, whatever it is, right? We are conforming to the outside elements for how we on the inside should work at our best. Or maybe it's just, you mimic someone, you saw somebody else who you thought, oh my gosh, that person's an incredible, like everything they do is gold. So I'm going to work and be like them. But usually that falls short because we're not them and it doesn't work. So we don't know our best. We're not sure how to get to our best. And then we conform and it works against us. I want to give you a personal example for me that's actually way back to my childhood, but I think a lot of us can relate to. So I had a really tough time in traditional school, in elementary, middle school, high school. It wasn't until college actually that I found my way. And when I look back, what I realized is, school really had one way of how we should think, how we should act, how we should approach our work, and that never worked for me. And so ultimately, I became the disruptive, annoying kid. No surprise, anyone who knows me. But looking back, what I realized is it's not that they were wrong or I was wrong, it's that we weren't matched. I wasn't working in a way that worked for me. I wasn't allowed the room to work in a way that works for me. And I'm going to talk about that and what that means in a second. And I was expected to conform this other way. Now, there's a level of conformity we can all do. We can all play along for sure. But at some point, it's sabotaging us and it's working against us. So I want you to think right now about the environment you're in, the way your job is structured, the way your company is structured, the people around you, how you operate, your workflow. Do you really feel like you are working at your best self and in a way that works for you? Or are you actually working against your best self? So you've got to kind of put double the energy in, right? It's that heel strike every single time. I suspect for a lot of us, the answer is the latter, that actually we're working in an environment that's not bringing out our best self. The cool part is, and I've talked about this with people in my academy, is that it is absolutely possible to change that. And it starts with understanding your everyday innovator style. So let me back up and share what that means, because in that is the key to how you work and think so that you can set up an environment that works for you. So in my 25 plus years in this industry and playing in the innovation space, and digging into the neuroscience and the behavioral psychology and the change principles and bringing all that together, what my research uncovered is that being innovative is universal. We all do it. However, how we innovate is unique to each of us. What that really means is how we think and work at our best, how our brains operate is unique to each of us. How cool is that? In fact, our brains are like thumbprints. No two are alike. Imagine that for a moment. You've got this super unique brain, yet you're expected to use it the way Greg or Sally or Jessica uses it. And they're just as different and unique in themselves. And we're all trying to work in the same way. Well, that's why we're often working against ourselves. So when we understand our everyday innovator style, we understand how we work and think at our best. So, as I said, my research shows that there's being innovative is universal, right? How we all do it. How we do is unique to each of us. And there are 9 styles of innovation, 9 different ways we think and work and dial up that innovation, that creative problem solving, that critical thinking. That's really what that is. What each of us has is called a unique everyday innovator style. And that is the combination of your top 2 power triggers, your wellspring of innovation, your natural strength, how you think and work at your best, and the presence of a dormant trigger. Now, your dormant trigger isn't your weakness. I think that eludes comparison. That's not what I'm going for here. Think of your dormant as your least powerful play. It can exhaust you to play there too long. And I can tell you, because I accidentally was there for a long time, I had to play into my dormant strengths, and I was exhausted and not bringing my best. A lot of people are doing that. So of those 9 styles, 2 are your power play, and 1 is your dormant trigger. Now, there's a lot of combinations of this, but again, what's cool about it is that everyday innovator style holds the key to your working and your thinking style, which holds the key to bringing out your best. So, let me give you an example of mine, and then I want to dig into all of them for you. So, I'm a risk taker experiential. Those are my 2 power triggers. We're not going to worry about dormant on this podcast. And those 2 power triggers combine for my everyday innovative style. Now, the risk taker is all about leaping and figuring it out, doing our best work when we're uncomfortable. So while other people tend to prefer to keep it a little bit safer, for me, if I'm going to do my best work, I need to get to that place of being uncomfortable. The experiential side of me is all about in motion. I think best by doing and building and creating. If you ask me to keep my thinking, my ideas in my head, I have a really hard time. Things get jumbled. So my thinking style, my working style is all about being uncomfortable and leaping and in motion and action. Now you can maybe see why for me, school was a little bit challenging because school was the opposite of that. School was like memorize, retain, put it down on paper. I'll never forget one time I had to stay after I got in trouble because you were supposed to write your name on, I think it was the top left-hand corner. And I wrote my name on the top right-hand corner because I wanted to rebel against the machine. I'm not sure what that got me, but I never forget that I got in trouble for that because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try something new. But that to me is a great example, right? We clashed. That system and my operating system clashed. What I now understand is that being a risk taker experiential means that I need to be uncomfortable. I need to leap and build. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people will look at it and go, well, that's impulsive, or Tamara just acts on a whim. But I know that's actually me doing my best work, and things come out better when I do that. When I build my ideas, when I map them out, when I get them out of my head. Others, by the way, and this may be you, you're all about thinking and digging. I'm going to actually share a little bit that's going to blow your mind because it's going to show you kind of how it all works. But we all have a different way of working and thinking. And I want you to understand that, because when you understand that, you understand again, the best way to set up yourself from the inside out and not conform, but actually build an environment around you that allows you to bring out your best. And what I've discovered over the years is that the more I do that, the easier it becomes. So now, bringing my best self and innovating and critical thinking and problem solving and just setting up a work environment that really allows me to thrive is actually easy. In the beginning, I had to make some adjustments, but now it's easy. So if you are listening to this or watching and you know your unique everyday innovator style, I want you to hit pause. I want you to go to your custom report, and I want you to pull out your 2 power triggers just so that you know them and you're steeped in them while I'm about to walk through the next part of this. If you don't know it, here's what I suggest you do. Go to our website and take the assessment. Take the guesswork out of it. It'll take 5 minutes for you to uncover how to perform at your peak, bring more innovative ideas, have a stronger, more valued voice, and all the stuff I'm talking about will totally, you'll hear it for you. So hit pause, take the assessment. So either hit pause and just pull up your results, or hit pause and take the assessment and come back. Now, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, I'm going to show a slide where I'm talking about it. You'll get just as much over audio, but I highly suggest that you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe because there's a lot of great stuff on there. All right, so let me share my screen here, because what I want to do is I actually want to walk through the 9 and the thinking style and the working style that goes along with it. This is just in alphabetical order. Know that every style, every different combination of everyday innovator is powerful. They're just different. So I'm going to cover thinking and then working style for all of them. So let's start with collaborative and work our way through the 9 to the right. And oh, by the way, if you're listening to this or watching this, there's another thing I want you to do. I also want you to be thinking about the people you work with, because it is really valuable to understand the different thinking and working styles of the people around you so that you can leverage them to their best and help them do the same. So I'd like you to think of this almost from 2 perspectives. For you, how you hold the key to your best work, and also the people around you, because they're going to be different. And I bet you'll have a few of those, oh, That's why Liam acts that way. Oh, I got it, because he's inquisitive and his best working style is in questioning. Okay. Or, oh, I totally get why Jeff is contemplative, because he's futuristic and he's kind of more about like pulling it together in his head and taking it to the future. Got it. You get my point. So it's really quite eye opening about yourself and even those around you. And in fact, if you're leading a team and you're thinking, oh, I wish I knew what everybody was, again, no problem. Go to our website, get the assessment for the team so that you can take the guesswork out of it and know your everyday innovator style so that you can be a high performing team together, really create that cohesion and that collaboration that's needed to win in today's marketplace. All right, left to right. I'm going to start with collaborative. Thinking style is whole, meaning it brings all the pieces together. When you think, you do your best work by pulling disparate people and ideas and experiences together to create whole innovation and whole thinking. Your working style, if I were to describe your day to day, is collaborative, right? You're, as I said, you're pulling disparate people and ideas and experiences. So your best is when you're working in an environment that isn't siloed, that allows you to collaborate, not just with people, but with experiences, ideas, departments, products, services. You need to be out and connecting. I once had a client who was collaborative and worked in a really in a silo. It was like a department of one, and they were just withering away. And when they realized this, they actually switched up not their job function in terms of what they were delivering, but how they did it. And she created cohorts. She created these customer interactions. She did all these different things to build the collaborative side of her, and that has helped her totally thrive. All right, so your thinking style is whole for collaborative, and your working style is collaborative. All right, moving to experiential. I talked to you a little bit about experiential before because that's me. Thinking style is tangible, right? We think about the real world where the rubber meets the road. We want to do and act and like pull it together. So we bring tangible innovation to the table, and our best thinking is by bringing things that are tangible that we can touch, see, and feel, right? We're very kinesthetic. To no surprise, our working style is action because we are in motion. We do our best work when we're building and creating and developing, getting it out of our heads. So when I was in a job that was all about thinking and just being contemplative, it didn't work for me. I needed to do my thinking in action. So if you're experiential, your thinking style is tangible, right? You're very real, concrete, like right now, what can we do? And your working style is action. So think about your environment. Are you set up to build, create, evolve, do a prototype with scented markers and duct tape? Talk to somebody else and do a mock write up of something. It doesn't have to always be like I'm building a product. In action just means getting it out of your head and in motion because you're going to learn and do best in motion. You don't do well just sitting in place and thinking. I don't. Okay, so that's experiential, tangible, and action. Fluid, your thinking style is concise because you are brilliant at navigating that mess and that stickiness and pulling it together to create very clear and concise innovation. Your thinking style is concise, right? You're pulling all the mess and you're making it clear. You do your best thinking when you're presented with this mess, the stickiness, the stuff that's like fog for everybody else, and can pull out the nuggets that are concise in it. So are you in a position that allows you to think in that way? Or are things too clear and concise to begin with, and you've got no room to do what you do best? Your working style tends to be visual, right? You see the bigger picture. You see what's happening around you. That's why you're able to be concise. So are you working in a way that allows you to be visual, whether that's in images or whether that's in video or the way you present things or people present to you, that visual really matters for you because that's how you can kind of see everything together. And in your mind, by the way, you tend to think in pictures if you're fluid. I find that people who are fluid, if you interrupt them in a conversation, you've interrupted their picture. So sometimes they forget what they were talking about because they lost the picture. So your thinking style is concise and your working style is visual. All right, for futuristics, your thinking style is forward and your working style is contemplative. So for futuristics, you're all about today's problem is tomorrow's opportunity. You're all about seeing the forest through the trees. So your thinking patterns are all about pushing it to the future and innovating in that future space. So if you're in a job that's all about managing yesterday's data, It's not going to go as well for you. We have another client who's on this incredible team. That was her job, was managing yesterday's data, like the client's assessments of how the job went, but she's futuristic and it wasn't leveraging her. So she did well, but they moved her into this job that was about creating themes and patterns for clients. They're in the catering business and she is thriving because it allowed her to think her best way forward. Now, her working style is contemplative. You often see with futuristics like the eyes up, kind of looking around. It's because in their head, all this magical stuff is happening, and they need time to like just think about it, let it percolate, let it come together inside their brains. Different than me, right? I'm not contemplative. I'm in action because I'm experiential. I need to do and build to even think. Well, the futuristic needs contemplative time. So do you have time, if you're futuristic, do you have time in your day that's set out to be contemplative? Do you have the ability to ruminate and pull it all together? Do you have a job or a way that you approach your job that allows you to be forward thinking because that's your style? All right, so for futuristics, your thinking style is forward and your working style is contemplative. So next up is imaginative. So imaginatives, your thinking style is novel and your working style is inward. So novel because you play in the gaps. You are so good at creating fresh, inventive thinking and ideas. You bring novel innovation to the table. So the way you think isn't by being bogged down by data and connecting the data dots. It's actually saying, here's a gap and I'm going to play in this gap. So is your work and your life set up to allow you to be novel and to play in the gaps, or are you just regurgitating data that anybody else can see? Your working style is inward. And similar to futuristics, you're painting this beautiful picture in your head. And so you're often in your brain thinking of what's possible and what could be, like all the imagination is happening. So are you in a situation in your job or in your work where you're allowed to go inward, or is everything action? Like, so for me, experiential, that's great. But for you, you need some inward time. So imaginative, novel thinking, and their working styles inward. All right, so for inquisitives, your thinking style is deep and your working style is questioning. So for inquisitives, for you, innovation and the way you think is all about the questions, not the answers. So you dig deep, deep, deep. You're great at challenging assumptions, pulling back the layers, asking why, what if. So while all of us are kind of playing on the surface, you're like with a shovel digging deeper and deeper to find that brilliance, to find that innovation, that ideas. So you like to really dig. And because of that, your working style is questioning. Then you need to question, you need to ask questions of yourself, of others, because that's how you think best, right? That's how you get to the deep part. So inquisitive's over here asking, collaborative is over here chatting it up with people. The imaginative is looking inward to kind of create imaginative ideas. The experiential is all in action. The fluid is all visual. You get what I'm saying here, right? All very different. And you got to honor what's you. So the inquisitive for you got to be able to dig deep and you got to be in a working style that allows you to question. I always tell inquisitives because I think sometimes you get a bad rap. It's like, okay, it's 11:30. We get it. We were all closing our notebooks. We all know our to-dos and you're over there with 10 more questions. Well, if people don't understand that that's how you think, they're going to see it as you're poking the bear, you're challenging, you're holding everybody up. But when you let people know, hey, I think in questions, so just give me a second to ask a couple more because that's me just pulling back the layers and really going deep. People will give you permission to do that. So inquisitive, your thinking style is deep and your working style is questioning. Now for instinctuals, your thinking style is connective and your working style is intuitive. So instinctuals, you're all about, well, most of us have a more circuitous, or a linear path to thinking, A to B to C to D. Yours is way more circuitous. It's A to L to X, back over to A, over to M, and back again. You're connecting dots in new and meaningful ways. So your thinking style is very connective. It looks a little bit like a mess to the outside if they were looking in your brain, but for you, it makes perfect sense. You find patterns, you find insights, you find new trends, you find how things connect together, even when they're seemingly random. Your thinking style is very connective and you need to give yourself room to be that circuitous and not try to be linear. I can't tell you the number of instinctuals I meet after taking our assessment who go, oh, I get it. I was trying to be all A to B to C, but I'm better A to X to Y to M. Now I'm going to give myself permission to think in a way that works for me. So you're connective in your thinking and your working style, no surprise, is very intuitive, right? You feel it. You need to have room to be able to trust your gut and then back up into the rationale. I find that with instinctuals, when you're in a work environment or you believe that for yourself, right, you need to kind of have the data first and the decision second, you work against yourself. Because you're so gut driven and so connective, you need to get to the decision first and then back up into the rationale. You're moving so quickly in these connections that you need to allow yourself the room to feel it, believe it, feel it in your gut, and move forward. So for instinctuals, your thinking style is connective and your working style is intuitive. Now to risk, we got two more left. To risk taker, which I talked about a little before because that's also me. For risk takers, it's all about bold thinking, like everything is big and jumping the chasm and like never been done before. We do our best thinking when we're allowed to go big, right? We sit in that uncomfortable space. We like to be there. It is our best work. We leap when other people are stuck on the edge. And our thinking style needs to be very big and bold. Now, that's not to say everything that we implement has to be as wild-eyed as what's in our head, but we need to play there and to think there in order to get to the things we truly need to do or the decisions that we need to make. So if you're a risk taker and you're thinking, oh gosh, well, no wonder, like I'm stuck in incremental world. Well, yeah, that's going to work against you. You need to be in the bold world. That's how your brain operates. It plays best. It lights up in that space. So that's your thinking style is bold. Your working style is decisive. Risk takers are very make a decision, go, right? They sometimes can come across as very declarative. It's like we don't use question marks when we talk sometimes because everything is very decisive. It's very like, yes, we're doing it. And that's part of the boldness, isn't it? So we got to be in a working environment where we can allow that style of being decisive, where we can allow that to shine versus holding it back. So for risk takers, our thinking style is bold, right? We're big. And our working style is decisive. Like we need to make a decision, move on, make a decision, move on. Again, this is actually isn't impulsive or spontaneous. It's actually very thought through, but the way we move forward, the way we work best is if we have room to be decisive and own and be accountable for our decisions. All right, last but not least is tweaker. Now, thinking style is optimized, working style is driving. So for tweakers, you are best when you're editing and evolving and adjusting. You know that the best idea, the best innovation is just one little adjustment away. It's like one little tweak away. So when you think about things, while like risk taker is all about bold, big, like, burn it down and start over, tweaker's brilliance, the way you think, is all about how do I change this just a little bit to make something amazing happen? How do I adjust this further to get the result I'm looking for? Your thinking style is optimized. So you need to be in a place where you're allowed to think that way, to keep like improving and editing and evolving because you are brilliant in that space. Oftentimes I find with tweakers, the challenge is they're put on projects at the start end where there's like blank space where they should be put on the minute that gets going and there's something to hold on to. You think best when you've got something to hold on to and to optimize. Your working style is driving. That means you're always moving forward. So I have this exercise that I do with clients, whether it's a client event or a speaking event, whatever it is, or an innovation jam session. And I always find that the tweakers, this exercise that I give, it's about build. You have 3 minutes to build something. I'm not going to give it away just in case I work with any of you, but 3 minutes to build something. And I yell time. And no joke, the minute I yell time, I can tell the tweakers in the room because you're still over there moving one little pencil on the table, changing the direction of one little thing, because right? That could make all the difference in the world. You're always driving forward. So while the rest of us maybe have stopped or moved on, you're still driving. So you need to be in a working environment that allows you to adjust and tweak and edit, not just go from 0 to 100 or stop at 100, but allow you to kind of do little optimizations along the way because your thinking style is optimized. Your working style is driving. All right, let me sum this up because I covered so much, but hopefully as I'm reading through this and saying it, you're kind of hearing about yourself and starting to think about, wow, am I working in a way that works best for me? Am I in an environment that's best for me? How can I adjust it to make it better? And oh, wow, the people around me are very different. How can I let them understand their best working and thinking style? And how do I leverage them at their best? So let me go through the words because I just want you to feel the difference in all the different types of people that we are and that we work with. All right, so for thinking style, here are all the options: whole, tangible, concise, forward, novel, deep, connective, bold, optimized. Imagine for a moment if you had a team of people who understood this. Imagine for a moment if you understood how you worked best and brought it to work in life. For the working style, you've got collaborative, action, visual, contemplative, inward, questioning, intuitive, decisive, driving. Again, do you see how they're different? And do you see how maybe if you were, let's say, a imaginative, which is inward, but you were working in an environment that's driving, which is tweaker, how, or you were expected to act like that, how that might actually work against you. It might be that heel strike I was talking about. Or if you're an inquisitive, which is all about your working style being questioning, but you're in a place that's collaborative, maybe that's not best for you. Or maybe you need to figure out how to infuse that questioning work style into the collaborative environment. Now, I'm not saying if you're in an environment that doesn't work for you, you should go quit your job and move on. But what I am saying is that there's absolutely an opportunity to adjust your workflow and how you think about bringing your best self and allowing the people around you to know that about you so that they can do it too. All right. Thank you for joining me. Another great one. Like I said, if you watch this on YouTube, I had the visual of this up so that you can actually look at it. So I will put a link to the YouTube of this when we release the podcast so that you can bounce over and look at the visual if you'd like to. We have a ton of resources on our website. Hey, do me a favor. If you're listening to this, I know you're the type of person that's leading edge, that really strives and probably is that everyday innovator. We want more people like you in our world, don't we? Like, we want to surround ourselves with more everyday innovators. So the best way to do that, if you wouldn't mind, is actually going to iTunes or wherever you listen and leaving a review. That would make us so happy. We work really hard over here at Launch Street, and I work really hard to bring you topics and content that's hyper valuable to you, and sometimes a little bit different, but we want to expand your minds. So all I ask in return is a review. I think that's fair. All right, everybody. Thank you. Tamara out.